The drama begins with a man whose hands and feet are tied, submerged in water. Just then, a woman tries to save him. As the woman moves to save him with a kiss, the man thinks, should I tell her my real identity? In the next scene, they are both kissing in a shop. These two are the main leads of the drama, Hee-seong and Ji-won. They are married and also have a daughter named Yoon-ha. Hee-seong is a craftsman and also has his own studio, while Ji-won is a police inspector. While kissing, Ji-won's attention goes to the window, so Hee-seong tells her, get Yoon-ha ready. I'm going to do the laundry. Hee-seong, Ji-won, and Yoon-ha are all at the dinner table with the family in the evening. The three of them celebrate Hee-seong's 38th birthday, but Hee-seong's parents are sitting quietly. When Ji-won takes Yoon-ha to the toilet, Hee-seong's mom says, has he started to feel like this life is his own now? Hee-seong says, it's nothing like that. His mother says, if it weren't for her, Hee-seong's father would never have told him to hide. Hee-seong's father says, the three of us are in the same boat. If we try to push each other down, we will also drown. Then Ji-won comes and says, something came up, I have to go, and she leaves. From there, Hee-seong's mother says, Ji-won is dumb. That's why their relationship has lasted this long. Hee-seong says, they are made for each other. But his mother says, how? When Hee-seong is a murderer and Ji-won is a cop? Ji-won goes to the police station. There is a case there in which someone pushed a 12-year-old boy, Hinsu, down the stairs. When the boy regains consciousness, he says, my father did it because he doesn't like me. But his father says, he is lying. I didn't do anything. Reporter Kim Jin talks to his wife. He writes about mysterious cases. Then the wife tells him, my husband is a lawyer. Meanwhile, when Ji-won talks to the suspect's wife, the wife says, my son is not lying. Ji-won asks, could your husband do something like this? She says aggressively, he didn't do anything. Ji-won tells Kim Jin, I don't think the suspect did this because he doesn't have a motive for murder. He tells her, many people commit murder even without a motive. Then he tells her about the Yeonju City serial murders, where the killer was a metal craftsman, and he committed murders without any motive. Ji-won gives Kim Jin a pen made by Hee-seong and says, promote my husband's shop. At night, Ji-won tells Hee-seong the details of the case. Then she asks him, do his parents not like him? Hee-seong says, it's not his fault. Ji-won checks the CCTV footage, but she finds nothing in it. The next day, Hee-seong goes to his mother and asks her to call Ji-won to cheer her up, but his mom refuses to do so. Ji-won's seniors meet the suspect's friend. When they don't find any clue, they take his mobile and find out that the suspect is having an affair with his friend. Kim Jin goes to Hee-seong's studio. Seeing him, Kim Jin is shocked. He asks him, are you due, Hyun? Then, seeing Hee-seong's reaction, he understands that it is him. Hee-seong asks him, do you know Ji-won? Kim Jin says, yes. Then they have tea together. These two are childhood friends. When Kim Jin is about to leave, Hee-seong says, you can ask whatever you want to ask. So Kim Jin says, I don't believe in rumors unless there is proof. And the day you disappeared from the village foreman was murdered. Do you have any connection to this? Hee-seong says, whatever I say, everyone already considers me the culprit. Kim Jin says, if he is innocent, he should get an investigation done. Meanwhile, Ji-won finds out that Hinsu fell because he was scared of the neighbor's dog. Then Ji-won finds out that the vitamin medicine Hinsu's mom takes has been changed by someone, which has affected her brain. Meanwhile, due to lack of evidence, Hinsu's father is released. Then Hinsu tells Ji-won the truth. I had found out about my father's affair, and he wanted to divorce my mother without any problems. That's why I used to give her the medicine so that my mom would become mentally disabled. So to save my mother, I made a false accusation against my father. Ji-won arrests his father based on Hinsu's statement. On the other side, Hee-seong knocks Kim Jin unconscious at home and locks him in the basement. At night, Ji-won comes home. Hee-seong and Eun-ha are playing, and she also starts playing with them. The scene shifts to a flashback from 2016. Ji-won is in a shop, preparing to become a cop, when she meets Hee-seong for the first time. Just then, Hee-seong buys something from that shop. Ji-won asks, is he new here? Hee-seong says, how did you know? Ji-won says, because I have never seen you before. Then we see in the present, Ji-won wakes up and sees Hee-seong cooking in the kitchen. She goes from behind and surprises him with a hug. Ji-won says, I had a dream. Hee-seong asks, what kind of dream? Ji-won says, the moment we first met, I saw that same moment in my dream. Then, Ji-won gets Yoon-ha ready. Then Hee-seong comes ready, and not seeing Ji-won, he says to Yoon-ha, where is Ji-won? Yoon-ha says, she has gone to clean the studio. Hearing this, Hee-seong gets scared. Meanwhile, the tied-up Kim Jin in the studio regains consciousness, but due to the tape on his mouth, he can't speak. Seong goes to the studio. Ji-won asks, "How did your favorite cup break?" He says, "It broke by mistake." Seong tells Ji-won to eat and takes her from there. Ji-won gets a new case where someone has murdered an old lady. The police say, "This looks like the Yeonju City serial murder, because after this lady's murder, her thumbnails were removed." The senior tells them, "The old lady was quite rich and used to donate to welfare. She has only one son." Then the senior says, "It's possible the murderer committed the crime after reading the article Kim Jin wrote about the Yeonju City serial killers." On the other hand, Seong closes his shop and comes to Kim Jin and says, "My intention is not to kill you." Then he makes Kim Jin call his office and tell them he won't be coming to work because he's busy. Kim Jin tells him, "You will be caught very soon because I came to meet Seong at the request of Ji-won, who is an officer." Kim Jin thinks Do-hyun and Seong are two different men. Seong tells him, "You still don't understand how I have been evading the police for 18 years. Kim Jin asks, "Is he the Seong, Ji-won's husband?" So Seong says, "Do you really want to know my truth? But you will have to pay the price for it." Kim Jin says, "I don't want to know." But Seong says, "I was the one who killed the village foreman." After this, he puts tape on his mouth and leaves from there. On the other hand, Ji-won is looking at the details of the Yeonju City case. Her colleague says, "The killer has tried to copy this case, but if you look closely, there is a difference between the two cases. The old lady's killer had a motive to kill her. He just tried to make the case look like that." At kindergarten, Yoon-ha fights with her classmate, so Ji-won goes to the school. Seong comes and apologizes and asks Yoon-ha to apologize too, to which Yoon-ha says, "Sorry." Later, Ji-won says to Seong, "Why did you do that?" So he says, "I wanted to end the matter." Then Seong says to Yoon-ha, "Sorry, you had to apologize because of me." He tells her, "Your classmate was also crying because her doll was lost." Actually, Seong himself had thrown that doll in the dustbin. The detective suspects the old lady's son. He finds out that the old lady's son has a gambling habit, and he also had a fight with the old lady on the night of the murder because the old lady had donated everything she had to a trust. But Ji-won says her son didn't do it, so they have an argument. Just then, Ji-won's attention goes to the lipstick mark on the ring on the will. The detective says it's possible the lawyer committed this murder because he was the one who told them about the will. Seong sends Yoon-ha to Ji-won's mother and checks Kim Jin's bag, in which he finds a pendant and a diary. He asks him, "Why were you going to meet Nam soon?" So Kim Jin says, "He told me I have information about Do-hyun." Then Seong calls Nam soon on behalf of Kim Jin and says, "He is very busy. So whatever information you have to give, tell me on the call." So he says, "I have lived with Do-hyun for 3 years. I found him abnormal." Seong is about to cut the call when Nam-soon says, "Do-hyun is threatening me." Hearing this, Seong is shocked. On the other hand, the detective gets CCTV footage in which the murderer, Park Yong, is carrying the murder weapon with her. Then, upon searching, the weapon is found. Ji-won then, before arresting Park Yong, asks, "Why did you kill the old lady?" So she says, "Because of her, I had to climb a lot of stairs to take care of her. I got angry at something she said, so I killed her." Seong asks Nam-soon, "How do you know that Do-hyun is threatening you?" So he says, "Because I tried to kill him for money." Seong says, "But Do-hyun is dead." So Nam-soon says, "That's a good thing," at which Seong gets angry at Nam-soon. Meanwhile, Park Yong attacks Ji-won with a blade, so Ji-won hits her and then arrests her. In the next scene, Nam-soon calls Kim Jin, but his phone is switched off. So he leaves him a voicemail that says, Do-hyun used to help in his father's murders. Then a man in a black clothes comes to him. Seeing him, Nam-soon says, "It's Do-hyun." As he tries to run, that man kills him. Meanwhile, Ji-won's eyes open to find Seong is not at home. Just then, Seong comes inside from outside in a black clothes. The next scene is from 2017 when Ji-won comes to Seong, but he continues with his work. Ji-won clicks his picture and says, "I want to upload it on social media because you are very handsome." But Seong tells her, "Delete the picture." So Ji-won deletes it. Seong asks, "Who are you? And who told you to do this?" Ji-won says, "I like you. That's why I am approaching you." But Seong gets angry and says, "Don't come here again." In the present, Ji-won asks Seong, "Where are you coming from so late at night?" He says, "I couldn't sleep, so I went to get beer." Ji-won says, "When I first confessed my love, I also brought beer, and you were very angry with me." Ji-won asks, "Why were you angry?" But Seong doesn't say anything. So Ji-won says, "He doesn't tell me about his past." Later, Seong feeds Kim Jin and asks, "Is it tasty?" He says, "I eat to stay alive, not for the taste." Then Kim Jin asks, "Are you really going to kill me?" And is murder so easy for you? Heiong says, it's not easy, because after the murder, the body has to be carried in the car, which is a lot of work. Kim Jin starts screaming in fear and says, don't kill me. I am ready to do whatever is asked. Heiong says, in 2011, you uploaded something on social media. A boy wants to become a reporter. He mistakenly helped someone in a crime, and because of him, a death occurred. So can that boy get into trouble later on? Heiong asks, is this story yours? He says, no. Kim Jin says, if you let me go, I won't tell anyone anything. Heiong says, I don't trust people's words. In the next scene, the seniors at a meeting ask Ji-won and her colleagues, can you handle this case because the killer is following Da Min-seok's crime pattern? Therefore, this could become a famous case. Nam-soon was a very social person, so the murder suspect will be found very soon. An officer says Nam-soon lived in an orphanage and has a wife who is pregnant. The last call Nam-soon received was from Kim Jin, so the officer tells Ho-won, go to Kim Jin. On the other side, Hee-seong goes to Kim Jin's house and is checking his laptop, but he doesn't find anything in it. Just then, Ji-won arrives there for the investigation. On the other side, Kim Jin unties his ropes with something lying in the basement. Ji-won is searching Kim Jin's apartment when she finds Kim Jin's laptop heated up, which makes her suspect that there is someone else here besides her. So she starts checking carefully. Hee-seong is hiding on the balcony. When Ji-won goes to check the balcony, Hee-seong calls her and tells her, Kim Jin has come to meet me. So Ji-won leaves from there. After this, Hee-seong quickly comes to his studio, and upon going to the basement, Kim Jin attacks him, which leads to a fight between them. Ji-won comes to the studio and sees a wound on Hee-seong's face. She asks him how he got this injury. Just then, Kim Jin comes out from inside. We see in a flashback, Hee-seong tells Kim Jin, I can't murder you because the police are looking for you. Kim Jin says, how can I believe you? So he says, I saw a video on your laptop which, if it goes viral, could ruin your reputation. That's why you have to obey me now. In the present, we see Ji-won, to whom Hee-seong explains that he and Kim Jin had a small fight, which is why he got injured. Then Kim Jin reveals that Nam-soon has been murdered. So Kim Jin goes to the police station and listens to Nam-soon's last voicemail, in which he had said that Do-hyun had arrived. Ji-won asks, who is Do-hyun? So he says, he is Do Min-seok's son. He was Nam-soon's neighbor. He read my article and told me I had worked with him. Then Nam-soon's wife tells Ji-won, my husband used to get threatening calls from Do-hyun. Meanwhile, upon investigating the taxi driver, the detective finds out that there was no CCTV camera where the murderer got out. Kim Jin initially thinks Hee-seong met Nam-soon, but he feels that Hee-seong cannot murder Nam-soon. Then he is told the time of Nam-soon's murder, and he remembers that Hee-seong had already come from outside with food for him at that time, which confirms for Kim Jin that this murder was not committed by Hee-seong. In the next scene, Ji-won goes to the Chinese restaurant where Nam-soon and Do-hyun used to work. There, from the investigation, Ji-won finds out that Do-hyun did not have any identity card, so the owner used to pay him in cash as he did not have an account. Meanwhile, Hee-seong touches a scar on his body and remembers a scene where Nam-soon was about to kill Do-hyun for money. That's when he got that injury. Then Do-hyun starts hitting Nam-soon to save himself. Just then, he sees his father who tells him, kill Nam-soon. Scared, he starts running away from there without killing Nam-soon, at which point he gets into an accident. Then Kim Jin comes to Hee-seong and says, Nam-soon took Do-hyun's name before dying, so everyone is considering Do-hyun a suspect. Just then, Eun-ha comes and asks, who is Do-hyun? So Hee-seong takes Kim Jin outside and says, what do you want to do? Kim Jin says, who killed the village foreman? He says, I did it. So Kim Jin says, who killed Nam-soon? Hee-seong says, I didn't kill him. Kim Jin says, I trust you. He tells him Nam-soon was getting threatening calls from Do-hyun. So Hee-seong says, but why would I threaten him? So Kim Jin says, the killer knows Do-hyun well, which is why he is able to pose as Do-hyun in order to frame him for the murders. After Nam-soon's murder, Do-hyun has once again become hot news. Kim Jin says, if we work together, we can catch him. I will get the news, and your name will also be cleared. In the next scene, the real murderer starts taking cough medicine. Just then, we see fish prints on his mobile phone. The place he is in is like a basement. In the next scene, Hee-seong's father enters a secret door where a man is lying on a bed with an oxygen mask. Hee-seong's father calls him Hee-seong, meaning he is the real Hee-seong who has been in a coma since the accident. Next, we are shown a past scene. Ji-won and Hee-seong are together when it starts raining. Ji-won says, the rain ruined our first date. So he says, I am just hanging out with you so that you stop bothering me. Ji-won says, you don't actually realize that you like me too. Hee-seong starts smiling at her words. Just then he sees his father. So he gets angry at Ji-won. How can you like someone like me? In the next scene, Hee-seong's mom says to him, if our name comes out because of you, I will commit suicide. So Hee-seong says, don't worry, that will never happen. So his mom says, does Ji-won know anything about this? So Hee-seong says, she is handling the Namsoon case. So she says, that's why she stopped you from marrying Ji-won. He says, the killer will be caught soon. Anyway, the police are after Do Heiong, not me. Then his mom says, I feel lonely in that house with your father, so you should come there more often. So he says, there is a third person there too. You are not alone. In the next scene, Ji-won is asked to find Do-hyun's sister, whose name is Hinsu. She works in a film agency. Ji-won goes to meet her, and she tells her, I haven't met Do-hyun in a long time, so I don't know anything about him. So Ji-won says, you have sold all of your father's land. Why didn't you sell the buildings? Are you providing a place for Do-hyun to hide? So Hae-soo says, I sold the land to pay the victim's family. Otherwise, I have no interest in Do-min-suk's money. In the next scene, Kim Jin tries to find out about the real Hee-seong, and he learns that the real Hee-seong's dad is the director of the university hospital. In the next scene, Ji-won asks Hee-seong to wear his raincoat, so he says, why are you asking me to wear a coat? So she says, I was thinking about the Namsoon case. You also came home late that day. Hee-seong says, do you suspect me? She says, it's not like that. I was just shocked to see you in this dress yesterday. By the way, how did Namsoon, after seeing the killer once, say it was Do-hyun when he was also wearing a mask? So Hee-seong says, maybe Namsoon was mistaken. She says, the killer must be Do-hyun because catching him will get me a promotion. After this, Hee-seong, seeing Ji-won studying, lies in her lap and says, will the killer be caught soon? So she says, if we find out his face, he can be found quickly. Then she tells him, the owner of the place where Do-hyun used to work is getting his sketch made. Then they both lie down on the sofa. The next day, Kim Jin comes to the police station, where Do-hyun's sketch is being made, so he starts to misguide them. Then, Ji-won gets a call from an old lady from Yeonju City that she has a 5-year-old picture of Do-hyun. Ji-won asks her to send the picture from her mobile. In the next scene, the taxi driver who had told the detective the killer's location leaves his Tumblr at the police station, which has a voice recorder in it. Then a flashback is shown in which Namsoon asks the driver for his mobile to call his wife. So the mobile has the same fish pattern that Do-hyun had, seeing which Namsoon asks, are you Do-hyun? In the present, the driver finds out from the recorder that the police are going to Yeonju City to get Do-hyun's picture. Then Kim Jin calls Hee-seong and says, I have good news and bad news. So Hee-seong says, what's the bad news? So he says, someone from the village called the police and told them about your picture, and Ji-won is going to get it. Hae-seong says, what's the good news? So he says, you and I will go there together. Then he turns on the voice recorder and puts it in his pocket and starts going to Yeonju City with Hee-seong. Meanwhile, Ji-won is going with Detective Ho-jun. She says, why did Do-min-suk commit suicide? After his suicide, everyone found out he was a serial killer. Before that, no one even suspected him. So did he really commit suicide, or is there some other issue? Could it be that he had a crime partner? Meanwhile, Hee-seong says to Kim Jin, it would be great if we find the culprit before the police. Then Kim Jin asks him, how did he become Hee-seong from Do-hyun, and how did he keep fooling Ji-won? He says, she doesn't know anything about his past. Kim Jin says, don't you feel anything for Ji-won even though you have a wife? Hee-seong says, Ji-won is very important to me because my father is afraid of me because of her. As long as she is with me, my father won't come near me. Then Hee-seong takes the recorder from Kim Jin's pocket and deletes everything, and then says, if Ji-won finds out anything, I will murder you. Upon reaching the village, Hee-seong sees the flags there and remembers his past memory, where the villagers thought he was possessed. That's why they had held rituals to drive away the ghost, in which they had beaten Do-hyun a lot. In the present, Hee-seong and Kim Jin are going to the old lady's house to get the photo. Kim Jin goes inside and sees that the old lady is tied up. As he starts to untie her, someone attacks him from behind. Just then, Hee-seong sees a masked man running out of the old lady's house. He runs to catch him. As he removes his mask, it turns out to be the taxi driver. Hee-seong asks, who is he and why is he doing all this? Just then, Ji-won comes outside the old lady's house. Meanwhile, the taxi driver tells Hee-seong, meet me at a place at night. Then, hearing Ji-won's voice, the taxi driver runs away. Hee-seong also starts to run, and Ji-won starts chasing him. Hee-seong hides in a warehouse. Ji-won comes after him. and Hee-seong throws a cloth over her. Then some things are about to fall on Ji-won, so he saves her, handcuffs her hand, and runs away from there. Kim Jin calls Hee-seong and asks where he is. Hee-seong tells him, "Find out who Mi-suk is." Meanwhile, a detective comes and unties Ji-won and asks, "Are you okay?" Because a lot of things are scattered there. She says, "I am perfectly fine." The detective reveals Do-hyun's photo has been stolen, and someone other than Do-hyun stole it, and he is the killer. The killer is doing all this to draw Do-hyun out of hiding. Ji-won says, "This means the killer is not Do-hyun." Then Ji-won asks the villagers, "Has anyone come there looking for Do-hyun?" So someone tells her, "A taxi driver was asking about Do-hyun." Ji-won then tells Senior Cheol on the call one of the victims' bodies was not found, and her husband was a taxi driver, so Nam-soon's killer is also him. Then Cheol remembers that the taxi driver had left his tumbler there. He opens it and finds a voice recorder in it, from which Cheol understands that the driver was listening to all their conversations, which is why he reached to steal the photo before them. Then, in a flashback, we see that the taxi driver, Nam-soon, and Do-hyun were involved in the crime with his father. He had bought a matching fish pattern chain for his wife, but that chain was missing from her mobile when she died. If Nam-soon saw that chain with Do-hyun, then Do-hyun knows about his wife. Nam-soon says they should tell all this to the police as well, but he says the police are not interested in this case. So, if Do-hyun commits a crime again, the police will definitely go looking for him. Then the taxi driver thanks Nam-soon for telling him about Do-hyun and leaves. In the present, Hee-seong is waiting for the taxi driver. Just then, Ji-won's mother calls him because Eun-ha is missing her dad. So Hee-seong tells her, "I will come to pick you up very soon." Just then, he sees the taxi driver downstairs. On the other side, Ji-won finds a watch in the warehouse, which reminds her that this is the same watch she gifted Hee-seong for his birthday, and it also has Hee-seong's name written on it. Meanwhile, Hee-seong asks the taxi driver, "What do you want from me?" So he says, "I need to find Min-suk." But Hee-seong says, "I don't know Min-suk." Then Kim Jin tells Hee-seong, Min-suk was Do Min-suk's last victim. He asks Kim Jin, "Where has he gone now?" So the taxi driver tells Hee-seong, "Keep quiet." Hee-seong says he has no connection to Do Min-suk's victim, but if you want, I can compensate you. The taxi driver makes Hee-seong unconscious with chloroform and kidnaps him. Then the police find out that the driver has kidnapped someone, so the senior officer says, "Yoon, we have to catch the taxi driver somehow." Then Ji-won asks the kidnapping witness about the taxi driver. Just then, Ji-won finds Hee-seong's mobile lying there. So she tells Ho-jun, "Maybe the victim is my husband." She shows the lady Hee-seong's photo and asks, "Was he kidnapped?" The lady confirms it. Then Ji-won follows the taxi driver in a police car, but the taxi driver sees the car and throws something at its front glass, causing the car to have an accident. On the other side, Hee-seong regains consciousness. His hands and feet are tied. The taxi driver tells him, no one would have thought a serial killer would change his identity and live happily with his family. So he smiles. The driver says, "Aren't you scared? I can murder you too." Hee-seong says, "I am not afraid of a person like you." So he stabs Hee-seong in the stomach with a knife and asks, "Where is Min-suk?" So Hee-seong starts to say something softly, and as the taxi driver leans forward to hear, Hee-seong bites his ear and says, "You won't be able to find out anything from me because I really don't know anything about this." Then Detective Cheol, while comforting Ji-won, says, "We will catch the taxi driver very soon." Ji-won says, "I am more worried about my husband than the case, so somehow I have to save my husband." After this, the taxi driver puts Hee-seong in a tank and turns on the water supply, saying, now he has less time to tell the truth. On the other side, Kim Jin finds out that there is a witness to Do Min-seok's last murder, who is an employee at a hotel. The taxi driver says to Hee-seong, "The person who saw my wife's kidnapping, a witness told the police everything. Do Min-seok was a suspect in it because his son had said about his father that he was with him, so Do Min-seok was saved." Hee-seong says, "I told the truth, because at the time of the kidnapping, Do Min-seok was with him." So the driver says, "Then how was my wife kidnapped from your father's car?" He then shows him a keychain and says, "My wife also had a similar keychain, which was not found after the murder." And Nam-soon had told him, "I have seen such a keychain with Do-hyun." Seeing that keychain, Hee-seong remembers the past when his sister Hai-soo gives him this keychain after their dad's death. In the present, he doesn't tell the taxi driver about this. In the next scene, the police search the taxi driver's house and find out about a hiding place of the taxi driver. The police go there and catch the taxi driver. Meanwhile, Hee-seong's body starts to drown in the water. Just then, Ji-won goes inside the water to save Hee-seong. Meanwhile, the taxi driver and Detective Cheol are fighting. He stabs Cheol with a knife and starts to run. But then Ho-jun comes and holds him at gunpoint, but the taxi driver puts a knife to Cheol's neck. Cheol tries to take the knife from him, and the taxi driver gets hit on the head. Meanwhile, Ji-won takes Hee-seong out of the water and tries to bring him back to consciousness. Then we see in a flashback where Hee-seong tells Ji-won, "You don't know anything about me at all. I didn't even complete my high school because I couldn't adjust there." Then he was also in a gang and used to fight with people. He used to see things that he shouldn't see because he is not normal. Ji-won asks, "What do you see?" So he says, "I see a dead person." She says, "This is happening because you miss that person." Hee-seong says, "You are not understanding what I am saying." Then Ji-won says, "I will make you forget everything with my love. A day will surely come when everything will change." Then she kisses Hee-seong. Hee-seong sees Do Min-seok, so he says to him in his mind, "You should leave from here because I want to stay here now." So Do Min-seok leaves from there, and Hee-seong starts kissing Ji-won. Now in the present, seeing Ji-won, Hee-seong says in his mind, "I used to think that I was very lucky to have found a girl like Ji-won, but now I understand Ji-won should never have met me." Then he says in his mind, "I'm sorry, Ji-won." The next scene is a flashback where the real Hee-seong is driving a car while talking to someone on the phone. Just then, he gets into an accident in which Do Heiong is injured. So Hee-seong tells him, "I am calling an ambulance, so wait." But he grabs his hand and says, "Don't take me to the hospital," and he faints right there. In the present time, Ji-won brings Hee-seong to the hospital. When Hee-seong regains consciousness, he starts running away upon seeing the police, thinking that everyone knows he is the culprit. Just then, Ji-won hugs him and starts crying. So Hee-seong says, "I am fine now." Kim Jin calls Do Min-seok's last crime witness, Jang Hee, and asks her questions, but she cuts the call. Hee-seong's father comes and asks the doctor how he is. So the doctor says he will recover completely soon. After everyone leaves, Hee-seong's mom says, "Now what will happen?" Hee-seong's father says, "The taxi driver's situation is very bad, so they shouldn't worry too much." Hee-seong says, "They don't need to worry about Ji-won." His mother says, "Won't Ji-won suspect what he was doing?" Hee-seong says, "I told Ji-won that I went with Kim Jin." His father says, "Can he trust him?" So Hee-seong says, he has Kim Jin's weak point, so he won't cheat him. Hee-seong tells his father, "The police are going to take the taxi driver into detention tomorrow." So Hee-seong says, "This means we have to do something tonight." His father says, "You have tonight." Kim Jin goes to ask Jang Hee what she saw 18 years ago, so she says, "I was mistaken." Upon further questioning, Jang Hee says, "If I say something and that monster does something to my daughter, what will I do?" Kim Jin says, Do Min-seok is dead, so why is she scared? Jang Hee says, "I am not talking about him." Ji-won asks Hee-seong, "Can you really give a statement?" And Hee-seong says, "Yes." Hee-seong starts looking at Ji-won. Ji-won asks what he is looking at, and Hee-seong remembers her crying face. Detective Cheol comes there to take Hee-seong's statement. The detective asks, "Why did the taxi driver leave you to drown instead of killing you like Min-soon?" Hee-seong says, "Maybe he was giving the police time to save me." The detective says, "How did you become the taxi driver's target?" Hee-seong says, "Do you hate me?" He says, "No, why did you think that?" So Hee-seong says, "When you first met me, you told Ji-won to break up with him." But the detective, without saying anything, tells Ho-jun to take his statement and leaves. From there, Nam-soon's wife calls Ji-won and says, "I have information about Do Hyun." Ji-won says, "As soon as the case is over, I will meet you." Ji-won is in thought. Hee-seong asks, "What happened?" And she says nothing. Hee-seong says, "You look tired. Go home and rest." Ji-won gets angry and says that she was worried and scared for him for 10 days. In a flashback, it is shown that when Hee-seong first regained consciousness, Ji-won asks if he is conscious and if he recognizes her. Hee-seong, in his delirium, thinks his sister is in front of him and says, "I want a normal life, don't try to find me." Then, Hee-seong, wearing a doctor's gown, goes to the taxi driver's ward and says, "I have come for a checkup." The detective goes out for a while, and the taxi driver opens his eyes and says that he was waiting for him. Hee-seong says, "Whether you believe it or not, I will kill you." The taxi driver says, "You can kill me if you want, but I might have received wrong information." Hee-seong asks, "How did you feel when you found out your wife died?" The taxi driver says, "I wanted to die too, but I had to take revenge for my wife." Hee-seong asks, "What will change with this?" He says, "People will say his soul has found peace." Hee-seong injects his glucose. Hee-seong tells the taxi driver, "Someone gave that keychain to Hinsu at Do Min-seok's funeral." The taxi driver says, "Why didn't you tell me before?" Hee-seong says, "If I had told you before, you wouldn't have believed it." The taxi driver says, "This means Do Min-seok had another partner." The taxi driver says, "I want to live." Hee-seong says, "I turned off the drip and then injected into it so nothing will happen to you." The taxi driver asks, "Why did you intentionally leave me alive?" Hee-seong says, "Because you didn't say anything. I left you alive. Meanwhile, Ji-won finds a blood-stained tie in Hee-seong's studio, and she remembers and cries. The next day, the taxi driver confesses that he wanted to take revenge on the police, so he tortured Hee-seong. In a flashback, we see Do-hyun regaining consciousness after the accident in an unfamiliar place. He is trying to run away with some expensive items when Hee-seong's parents arrive. In the present, Ji-won, while Hee-seong is sleeping, says to him that he deceived Ji-won by pretending to be Hee-seong, and says that she just needs one reason to forgive him. Ji-won extends her hand towards him, and just then Hee-seong wakes up and holds her hand. Ji-won gives him a watch and says that his old watch was not found by the police, so he should take care of his watch. Later, he asks Ji-won how the basement lock broke, and Ji-won says that she broke the lock because her friend needed some of Yoon-ha's stuff. We see a flashback when Ji-won checks Hee-seong's family registry and finds out that Do-hyun has been living as Hee-seong for 14 years, and Hee-seong's parents are supporting him in this. Just then, Ji-won sees Kim Jin's news, in which he says that Jong-hee had stated in 2002 that she could not see the face of Do Min-seok's accomplice at that time because his face was covered. But when Do Min-seok's accomplice had a car accident, Jong-hee was drunk. So, to settle the matter, she gave Do Min-seok's accomplice her name and number. At that time, Min-suk was trying to escape from the car, but Do Min-seok's accomplice took her away, saying that his wife was ill. So Jong-hee went to the police and filed a complaint, due to which Do Min-seok was investigated. But Do-hyun, not Do Min-seok, testified that Do Min-seok was with him, so the police trusted Do-hyun's words and let him go. Just 2 weeks after that, Do Min-seok committed suicide, and after investigating the suicide case, the Yeonju City serial murders were discovered. But Do Min-seok was already dead by then, so the case was closed as soon as it was opened. Then, some time later, Do-hyun killed the village foreman and ran away. So there were some chances that he could be Do Min-seok's accomplice. In the next scene, Hee-seong tells Ji-won that he has changed the basement lock, and to prevent Yoon-ha from accidentally going there, he has locked the basement. Ji-won, while listening to Kim Jin's news, tells Hee-seong that she wants to talk to him after tomorrow evening. Hee-seong agrees. Hee-seong then goes out and hears the culprit's voice and calls Kim Jin, saying that something feels wrong after hearing the culprit's voice. So he says, now this case has become very important for him, so I know very well what I have to do. Hee-seong says, you should trust me that I am not Do Min-seok's accomplice. But Kim Jin says, I don't trust you. In the next scene, at the counseling center, Ji-won finds out that Hee-seong had a cassette player as a child, and if anyone even touched it, he would get very angry. Then Ji-won takes out the cassette from the bag that Nam-soon's wife had given her of Do-hyun and starts listening to it. Then she calls Nam-soon's wife and asks why she felt that Do-hyun would come back for the bag, but due to a network problem, Ji-won cannot hear Nam-soon's wife's words. Ji-won goes to Do-hyun's old workplace and asks about the cassette player. So the owner tells her that he was very touchy about the cassette player, and if anyone messed with it, he wouldn't tolerate it. Ji-won's mother leaves Yoon-ha with Hee-seong's mom and goes. When Hee-seong's mom sees Yoon-ha reading books from every class beyond her age, she gets very scared and tears them up, saying, you should not be more intelligent than us because it could be a problem for you. She is saying this because her real son, Hee-seong, was also very intelligent and had won many awards. Yoon-ha gets scared and starts crying, so Hee-seong's mom comforts her. Hee-seong is trying to identify something by listening to the background noise when Ji-won arrives. So he closes the laptop and stands up. Ji-won asks him to sit down, so he sits there. He asks about the bag, so Ji-won says that she wants to catch Do-hyun with the help of this bag. Ji-won says she needs his help in this, and she takes out a copy and shows it to Hee-seong. He opens the copy, and Ji-won says that Do-hyun was also fond of metal crafting and had said that he would have his own studio in the future. Looking at the design, Hee-seong says that just by looking at this, it won't be clear who it was. In the next scene, Hae-soo meets Kim Jin and talks to him. They had been in a relationship in the past. She tells him, Do-hyun did not kill the village foreman? I did. On the other side, Hee-seong and Ji-won come to Do Min-seok's house. Ji-won says she feels like she will never be able to come back here again. Hee-seong remembers a childhood flashback when his sister takes him outside and explains that when he grows up, he will find their mother. So for now, he should focus on growing up. Then Do Min-seok tells them both to go inside. In the present, both go inside the house. The door is locked, so Ji-won suggests. Going through the window inside, Ji-won shows the metalwork and asks Hee-seong about his work style. Hee-seong says it looks like a beginner's work. Ji-won says that Do-hyun made this in his childhood, so by now, he must have become a professional. Ji-won says that she actually wanted to go to the crime scene, the basement. But if you don't want to go, then we won't. But Hee-seong goes with her, Smelling something. Ji-won says it's the smell of blood, because no one has cleaned here. Ji-won plays Do-hyun's cassette and asks Hee-seong what he thinks of the sound. She says it sounds like a sad woman to her. Hee-seong gets nervous and asks, "What is this?" Ji-won says she found it in Do-hyun's bag. She says it seems like this sound was created right here. Maybe Do Min-seok used to send Do-hyun to give food to the victim. Then she says the owner of the place where Do-hyun used to work is coming. Just then, Ji-won gets a call, and Ji-won gives the man directions. A frightened Hee-seong comes close to Ji-won and falls. Ji-won asks, "What happened?" But Hee-seong says that because of the smell of blood around here, he can't breathe. She starts talking about taking him to the hospital, but he says, "I want to go home." Then, Hee-seong tells Ji-won not to look for Do-hyun. Ji-won asks, why? He says he himself said that he could be a serial killer, so he would be very dangerous. Ji-won says that he is dangerous, so he should be caught, because tension should not be left in public. In the next scene, Hee-seong comes to Kim Jin's house. He asks what he was doing in his house that night. Hee-seong says that he was the one who told him not to call, so he came to the house and says that Ji-won is driving him crazy. Kim Jin says, "What happened?" He explains that Ji-won is helping find Do-hyun. Then he gives Kim Jin his video cassette and says, sorry for threatening him, so he asks why he's suddenly saying all this. Hee-seong says, now I have to find the killer. Meanwhile, Ji-won had given Hee-seong a watch. She had put a location tracker in it, so when she found out that Hee-seong had gone out, she checked his current location on her laptop. It was Kim Jin's house. Next, we are shown a scene from 2005 where Hee-seong asks the real Hee-seong's parents, I was the one who had the accident, so why is your son in a coma? Hearing this, Hee-seong's mom gets up and leaves. Just then, Hee-seong's father asks Do-hyun to become Hee-seong, to which Do-hyun says, what if I refuse to do so? So he says, then you will go to jail. So Do-hyun agrees. In the present, Kim Jin asks Hee-seong, why are you looking for Hai-soo? He says, because Ji-won, after seeing Kim Jin's report, wants to catch Do-hyun. Meanwhile, Ji-won thinks about why Hee-seong would have gone to meet Kim Jin. When Hee-seong comes back to his room, Ji-won asks him if he went somewhere because she smells a car freshener. He says, I went for some work. In the next scene, Kim Jin tells Hee-seong on the phone, I have found Hai-soo. He calls him to meet in the evening. Hee-seong tells him that before being kidnapped, Kim Soon had a fight with the taxi driver and left home. So why did the taxi driver file a missing person report for her? So Kim Jin says, this seems strange to me too. So he tells Kim Jin to go to the jail and talk to the taxi driver. In the evening, Hee-seong calls Ji-won and tells her, I will be late today. I have to go meet a friend. So Ji-won understands that he is lying. Hee-seong meets Hai-soo and tells her, I didn't want to find you, but I need your help with an issue. Hai-soo hugs him and starts crying. Just then, in a flashback, it is shown that Do-hyun sees that Hai-soo has murdered the village foreman. He asks her the reason, so she says, I came to tell him not to perform rituals on you, but he attacked me. So I murdered him while defending myself. So Do-hyun takes the knife from her hand, erases her fingerprints, and puts his own, taking all the blame on himself. Hae-soo stops him from doing so, and he says, I can't live a normal life, so you live your life well. In the present, Hee-seong asks Hae-soo how she is. So she says, you should be angry with me, because my life is like this because of you. He says, I made that decision happily, so I have no regrets. Then Hee-seong shows Hai-soo his family photos, and she says, you have changed a lot. He says, the man who gave you the fish keychain at Do Min-seok's funeral was Do Min-seok's accomplice, and that keychain belonged to the last victim, Kim Soon. Outside the room, Ji-won overhears all this, from which she finds out that Do Min-seok's accomplice was not Do-hyun. Meanwhile, Hai-soo asks about Ji-won, and he says, she is a cop and is handling the taxi driver case, but I can't tell Ji-won my truth. Hai-soo asks, do you love Ji-won? He says, no, I don't even know what love is. Hearing this, Ji-won leaves from there. Then Ji-won takes the metal design and cassette from Do-hyun's bag and burns them. She then tells herself, now I will let Do-hyun live his life as Hee-seong. The next day, Hai-soo and Hee-seong meet at Kim Jin's house. There, Hai-soo reveals, the man who gave me the keychain said that Do Min-seok had once helped him. Then he gives her the keychain and says, golden fish are lucky. Then Hee-seong says, I want to live with this identity now because I am happy with Ji-won and Eun-ha. Just then, Kim Jin gets a call from Ji-won, so he talks on speaker. She talks about meeting him, so Kim Jin pretends to be sick. Just then, the bell rings outside. Kim Jin thinks it's the pizza delivery guy, so he goes to check. Seeing Ji-won outside, he is shocked. She says, I called your office and found out that you are working on a special case, so I got curious and came to meet you. Just then, the delivery boy arrives, and seeing the pizza and the shoes at the door, Ji-won asks, "Is there a guest?" Inside, Hee-seong starts to panic. On the other side, seeing the real Hee-seong, his mom says, "I can't see you suffering anymore." So she removes his oxygen mask and says, "After you die, I will die too." Just then, Hee-seong's dad comes and stops her. Suddenly, the real Hee-seong regains consciousness. Meanwhile, Ji-won says to Kim Jin, "If it's a private guest, I can wait for you outside." Just then, Hee-seong comes out and says to Kim Jin, "What happened?" Ji-won is shocked to see him. Next, we are shown a flashback in which Hee-seong surprises Ji-won by decorating a new house. Ji-won is pregnant at the time. He tells her, "I have put yellow wallpaper in the house for the baby." In the present, Hee-seong tells Ji-won he has come to help Kim Jin with his case. Then Ji-won comes inside and, seeing Hai-soo, asks about her. So Hai-soo reveals, "I am Kim Jin's childhood friend, so I am helping him with his case." Meanwhile, the real Hee-seong says to his mom, "Whatever happened, it wasn't their fault." He then asks about Do-hyun, the one who had an accident with his car. How is he now? Meanwhile, when Hai-soo is about to leave, Ji-won asks, "Do you want the culprit to be caught?" So she says yes. Then Ji-won says the culprit could also be Do-hyun. Hai-soo says Do-hyun would not do such a thing. Ji-won says, "Then how can Do-hyun take the blame for someone else?" Hae-soo says, "I also want to know why he took the blame for someone else." Hae-soo then tells her, "I assure you that Do-hyun has not done anything." Just then, Hee-seong intentionally spills coffee on Kim Jin's laptop, so he tells them all to leave his house. On the way back, Hee-seong, not seeing the wedding ring on Ji-won's hand, asks about it. She says she took it off while washing her hands and forgot to put it back on. Then she tells him to come home early as it is their wedding anniversary. In the evening, Hee-seong prepares dinner at home. Ji-won tells him that in the voice recording Kim Jin gave her, there was a background noise, which he plays for Hee-seong. He remembers when he went to a bar with Do Min-seok. He heard this background noise, the sound of ice breaking. At that time, a man bumped into Do Min-seok's chair, and his jacket fell. The man picked up the jacket and gave it to Do Min-seok. It's possible the car keys were exchanged at that time. In the present, Hee-seong says to Ji-won, "You seem different to me." She says, "Yes, now I don't like you as I used to." Hee-seong says, "Did I make a mistake?" She says, "I don't like at all the things you do to make me happy, so my love for you is fading. Now I want to separate from you." Hee-seong is shocked. The next morning, Hee-seong tells Kim Jin about this. Hae-soo also arrives there. He asks Kim Jin how he can make Ji-won happy. He says, "You should gift her her favorite thing." Hee-seong says, "I understand what I have to give her. She will be happy only when she catches the culprit." Kim Jin says, "Which husband in the world gifts his wife a serial killer?" Hae-soo says, "I think Ji-won is very precious to you." He says, "Yes, she is precious and important to me." Then Hee-seong goes to the bar where he had come last time with Do Min-seok. The owner is the same as before. He offers him a drink. Hee-seong asks about the breaking ice. When he came with his father before, he used to break the ice himself and put it in. The owner says, "Your father must have been a special customer, because he does that for special customers." Hee-seong says, "So the person I am looking for could also be your special customer." He plays the voice for him, and he is shocked for a moment, but he doesn't tell Hee-seong anything. Hee-seong asks him to remember, so he gives him a pen to write his number, seeing which Hee-seong remembers something. On the other side, Ji-won calls a number for a job. A lady named Hyun attends the call from the other side. Ji-won tells her, "I have no work experience." To which the lady says, "No problem, we will still provide you with a job." Hearing this, Ji-won asks for her address. Meanwhile, at the bar, Hee-seong asks the bar owner, "Don't you know Do Min-seok? He was your special customer and used to give you gifts too. Still, you don't know him?" The owner says, "I don't remember anything." Hee-seong comes close to him and says, "Whatever you know, tell me." On the other side, Hyun tells her boss Yam-song about Ji-won. He says, "It seems strange to me that someone fell into their trap so quickly." Hyun says, "You're getting too scared." Then Yam-song gives her her money. Just then, he gets a call from the bar owner, which Hee-seong had arranged. He asks him, "Are you Do Min-seok's accomplice?" Yam-sang asks, "Who is he?" Then Hee-seong comes to Yam-sang's location. The bar owner tells Yam-sang, "This is Do Min-seok's son." Yam-sang says, "I know Do Hyun is on the police's wanted list." Hee-seong says, "Then you must also know that Do Min-seok's accomplice is framing Do Hyun." In the next scene, Ji-won meets Hyun and tells her a false story that she needs to work and earn money. So she says, "You can earn a lot of money in our work." Ji-won asks, Will I have to do something illegal? Hyun says, you will not be in any danger in this work. You just have to deliver things from one place to another. Then Hyun asks her for money to get her the job. So Ji-won gives her the money and says, you have just broken the law for which you will be punished. Hyun asks, who are you? So she takes out her mic and says, I am Kim Soon. Just then, Detective Choi comes to the door. Ji-won goes to open the door, and Hyun falls down while going out of the balcony. Meanwhile, Hee-seong asks Yam-sang about the culprit, and he says, I don't betray my clients. Then, when Ji-won opens her phone to attend a senior's call, she sees Hee-seong's messages, in which he had written that he wants everything between them to be like before. Just then, Ji-won remembers a flashback when she had asked Hee-seong, you always give me gifts, don't you want anything from me? He says, I do. I want you to keep loving me like this. I want to live with you. In the present, remembering this, Ji-won starts crying. Meanwhile, Yam-sung is about to knock Hee-seong unconscious. So Hee-seong says, I can become your client. Will you still give me the culprit? He asks, do you know what work I do? Hee-seong says, yes, I know. You are in the business of selling people. Just then, Hee-seong gets a call from Ji-won, so Yam-sung tells him to pick up the call. On the other side, Ji-won says her day has been very bad, so she is missing him a lot. Hee-seong, being in front of Yam-sung, says, I am busy right now. Hearing this, Ji-won is shocked, because he doesn't talk to her like this, so she tells him, answer my questions with a yes or no. Then, Ji-won asks, do you need my help? Hee-seong says no. Ji-won then asks, can you handle it alone? He says yes. Ji-won says, come back to me in an hour, because I am missing you. Hee-seong says, okay, and cuts the call. Then we are shown a flashback from 2010. When Hee-seong is working in his studio, Ji-won tells him that she has become a cop. So she is very happy. It was her dream that has come true. Hee-seong hugs her and says, I am also very happy for you. In the present, Yam-sung agrees to make Hee-seong his client. He shows him something on the laptop to make a deal, seeing which Hee-seong is shocked. On the other side, Hae-soo calls Ji-won and tells her that she knows the murderer of the village foreman. It is not Do-hyun. He has never murdered anyone to this day. I will tell you the whole truth when the time comes. Ji-won is surprised to hear this. Just then, Hee-seong comes to her. She tells him, I still love you and don't want to go away from you. Hee-seong says, I know. Ji-won says, after this case is over, I want to live my life peacefully somewhere else, just with you and Yoon-ha. Hee-seong says, you love your job so much, so will you be able to leave it? She says, I'm bored with the job now. Then Yam-sang calls Hee-seong and tells him to give him 1 million. In the flashback, we see Yam-sang showing Hee-seong a video on the laptop of the people he has kidnapped in the name of a job. He asks Hee-seong to choose one of them. So Hee-seong chooses a child from the video. Yam-sang tells him the price. So Hee-seong increases the price and asks him to give the name and photo of Do Min-seok's accomplice as well. Yam-sang finalizes the deal. On the other side, the real Hee-seong's parents tell him that Do-hyun is living as Hee-seong. So the real Hee-seong says, I will obey all your words. Just take my identity from him. Just then, Hee-seong calls the real Hee-seong's father and asks for 1 million in cash and says, I can find the other culprit of Yeonju City. So Hee-seong's father tells him to take the money. In the next scene, Ji-won gets a call at the police station from Do-hyun. He tells them to keep this call a secret and then reveals Do Min-seok and his accomplice were involved in human smuggling. Today, I am going to make a deal with that gang. In return for that deal, I will get one person and information about Do Min-seok's accomplice. He says, the police can raid the place at that time, but there is one condition. My identity will be kept secret. The detective asks, why do you want to do this? He says, I need to prove that I am not Do Min-seok's accomplice. Ji-won gets scared and calls Hee-seong. He tells her, I am going to a funeral, so I will be late. Ji-won forbids him from going there, but Hee-seong says, it is important for me to go there. Then the police officer, after confirming the information given by Do-hyun, plans that they can deceive Do-hyun and arrest him too. Hearing this, Ji-won gets worried. In the next scene, Hee-seong's father gives Do-hyun the money and says, I can give you more money, just leave your family and go far away from here. But Do-hyun refuses to do so, saying, I can't leave my family in your hands because I don't trust you that much. Meanwhile, Detective Cheol finds out that Do-hyun is Hee-seong, and also that Ji-won knows about this, so she wants to protect Do-hyun. Hae-soo has undergone hypnosis to remember the culprit, in which she sees a band. When she researches that band, she finds out that it belongs to Hee-seong's father's hospital. Meanwhile, Detective Cheol asks Ji-won, you knew everything from the beginning, so why were you lying to us even after knowing everything? Then we see, in a flashback, Hee-seong sees Eun-ha for the first time and says, I am scared. Will Yoon-ha dislike me? So Ji-won says, "You are her dad. Why would she dislike you?" In the present, Ji-won requests Detective Cheol, "Give me one chance, I can prove Do Hyun is innocent." But Detective Cheol refuses to do so. He says, "Tonight we will raid that place and arrest him the next day." In the next scene, Hee-seong takes the money to Yam-song and asks for the next location. Yam-song says, "What's the hurry? Let me count the money first." Then Yam-song tells Hee-seong the location, and Hee-seong texts it to Kim Jin, who tells Ji-won. Meanwhile, the real Hee-seong's father calls Yam-sang and tells him that Do Hyun is working with the police, so don't tell him anything. I will give you double the money. So Yam-sang shows Hee-seong a knife and asks, "Where would you like to die?" Hee-seong asks, "What happened?" He says, "You are working with the police." Hee-seong asks, "Who told you?" He says, "You should remember who you told your secret to." Meanwhile, the police go to the other location, and Ji-won is with them. A man is about to attack Detective Cheol when Ji-won saves him. Meanwhile, Yam-sang ties Hee-seong to a chair. Just then, Kim Jin comes and sprays fire extinguisher gas on everyone and tells Hee-seong to run. In the next scene, Hinsu asks the real Hee-seong's father about the bracelet, saying that the culprit had this bracelet when he came to Do Min-suk's funeral. Hearing this, Hee-seong's parents get scared. Meanwhile, the real Hee-seong also hears everything from inside the room. His dad tells Hinsu that they will find out who in their hospital has this bracelet. Meanwhile, Yam-song catches Hee-seong and says that he will murder him before he gets caught himself. Hee-seong asks him, "Before you kill me, tell me who told you about the police coming." But Yam-song doesn't tell him anything. Just then, Ji-won puts a pistol to Yam-sang's neck, and then she starts to arrest him. But Yam-sang starts to attack Ji-won, and Hee-seong starts to save Ji-won, so he runs away from there. Hee-seong starts to go after him, but Ji-won stops him, saying, "The police can come here any time, so you should go far away from here because Detective Cheol has found out your truth." Hee-seong then goes outside. Then Hee-seong is driving his car when he remembers Ji-won's words, so he calls her, but she doesn't attend his call. So he stops the car right there and sends her his location, asking her to come there. A little later, Ji-won comes there and asks, "Why are you still here? I even gave you a chance to run away." So Hee-seong asks, "Why are you helping me?" So she hugs him and says, "I couldn't do anything else for you besides that." Hee-seong says, "I want to go home." So Ji-won agrees. On the other side, when Hae-soo is about to leave the real Hee-seong's house, Hee-seong's mom asks, "Do you know anything new about Do Min-seok's accomplice?" So she says, "He had a habit of biting his fingernails." We see that the real Hee-seong has this same habit, and he is Do Min-suk's accomplice. Then the next day, Yam-song escapes from the hospital, and, seeing the real Hee-seong, says, now he has one chance to save himself. In the next scene, the real Hee-seong's mom says to her husband, "If Do Hyun finds out the truth, what will we do?" So Hee-seong's father says, "I have gotten him out of the way." Hee-seong says, even after dying, Do Min-seok won't let him live in peace. He only assisted Do Min-seok because he threatened to kill his family. That's why he asks his parents to save him. On the other side, Hee-seong is at home with Ji-won. She tells him, "When you met Hae-soo, I heard what you two were talking about. You said that you don't love me." So he says, "Yes, because I don't have emotions." So Ji-won says, "Then why are you staying?" So Hee-seong says, "I don't know." Ji-won says, "You are staying because you love me." Ji-won says, "Tomorrow, people will find out his truth and might speak ill of him." So Hee-seong says, "I don't care about what people say." The next day, Detective Cheol calls Ji-won and says, "I am outside your house." So she says, "Don't put handcuffs on Hee-seong." Then she tells Hee-seong about Detective Cheol's arrival. Then they both come out holding each other's hands. Then we see a flashback. The real Hee-seong's mom finds the victim's nails and photos in his room, which shocks her. Then she sees him burying Do-hyun. So she stabs Hee-seong with a knife to save Do-hyun, which causes the real Hee-seong to fall into a coma. In the present, Detective Cheol has come to Ji-won's house alone. He thanks Hee-seong for providing Yam-song's location. Then he asks Hee-seong, "Why did you kill the village foreman?" So Hee-seong says, "There was no reason to kill him." Then he tells Ji-won, "Now I will not investigate Do-hyun." In the next scene, Hee-seong tells Detective Cheol, "I don't understand who told Yam-song that I informed the police." So the detective says, "Someone who wants to see you dead." So Hee-seong says, "I know them, and only one of them would benefit from my death. To confirm this, I will go to him, so that his truth comes out." In the next scene, Hae-soo comes to the police station to meet Ji-won. She tells her she was the one who killed the village foreman. Ji-won says, Do-hyun is not just her husband, he is her family. That's why she will protect him herself. If you go to jail, Do-hyun will regret it, so you should keep this truth hidden. The next day, Hee-seong calls the real Hee-seong's father and says, "I will come to meet you tomorrow." Then he tells the real Hee-seong, Do-hyun is asking to meet. So the real Heseong says, we have to kill him somehow. Just then, their maid hears all this and leaves. The real Heseong sees her leaving. Then the maid says to Heseong's mom, I am quitting this job. She asks for money to keep her mouth shut. The real Heseong, hearing this, murders the maid. So his mom tells his dad to come home. He comes home and, seeing the dead body, starts getting angry at Heseong. So Heseong's mom says, we need to quickly arrange to get the dead body out of here. Meanwhile, Heseong also tells Ji-won that he suspects Mr. Baek, the real Heseong's father. If he sent Yam-sang to kill me, then it will be confirmed. On the other side, the real Heseong is putting the dead body in the car with his father. Just then, Do-hyun comes outside their house with Ji-won, and Mr. Baek opens the door. There, Ji-won says to Mr. Baek about Do-hyun, I know everything about him. I am with him. Then she asks him about the real Hae-seong. So he takes them to him where the real Hae-seong is lying on the bed, acting as if he is in a coma. Mr. Baek says Hae-seong's condition is very bad, which is why he allows Do-hyun to live as Hae-seong. Then Do-hyun says to Mr. Baek, that day someone called Yam-song and told him that I was working with the police. I only told you about this. This means you want to kill me so that your truth remains hidden from everyone. Mr. Baek says, how can you suspect me like that? Then the lights go out. So Mr. Baek, on the pretext of fixing the lights, goes out and tells the real Hae-seong to take the dead body away. The real Hae-seong puts the maid's hair in Do-hyun's car. In the next scene, Yam-song gets a woman discharged from a mental hospital, whom he calls by the name Kim Soon, that is, the taxi driver's wife. We see that the woman has a memory loss issue. The next day, Ji-won learns about a murder. When she goes to the crime scene, the detective tells her, someone killed a woman and buried her here. This is the dead body of the same maid whom the real Hae-seong had killed. Then, upon investigation, Ji-won finds out that the fingerprints found on the body do not match, meaning they are not registered. Then Detective Cheol tells her, this lady was the maid at Mr. Baek's house. Ji-won comes home and takes Do-hyun's fingerprints. Those fingerprints match the fingerprints found on the woman. These fingerprints were taken by Mrs. Baek in the dark at night. Then she tells Hae-seong about this, and he says, I haven't done anything. So Ji-won says, the evidence that has been found points to Do-hyun as the suspect, so he has to be arrested. So he puts his hands forward for the handcuffs and says, you should trust me. Just then, Ji-won gets a call from Detective Cheol, and she says, I am at home with Do-hyun. So Do-hyun throws the mobile and puts a knife to Ji-won's neck, saying, now I won't believe anyone. Then Do-hyun says to Ji-won, I don't want anyone to think of you as Do-hyun's accomplice. That's why I did this. He then tells her, Kim Soon is alive and with Yam-song, so give me time. I will catch the culprit and come back. Just then, the sound of a police siren is heard, so Ji-won says to Do-hyun, you should go to the police. He says, I have to save Kim Soon, so I can't go to the police. Then they both run away from the house. Then the senior police officer who finds out that Hae-seong is Do-hyun puts the entire force on finding him. On the other side, we see that Kim Soon has remembered everything, so she asks Yam-sang to help her, but he leaves from there. On the other side, the real Hae-seong says to his mom, now no one can save Do-hyun from the police. Just then, Yam-sang calls him and says, Kim Soon is with me, so he asks him to take money and come to a place. Then Do-hyun takes Ji-won to a hotel. She asks him about his future plan, but he doesn't tell her and says, you still suspect me, so I won't tell you anything. Ji-won says, if anyone else were in my place, they would also suspect you after seeing the fingerprints. Do-hyun says, I was very hurt by you suspecting me. Ji-won says, I wanted to take you to the police station so that you would be safe there. So he says, I did not murder the maid. In the next scene, Hae-seong calls Yam-song and says, give me Kim Soon and join hands with me. So he says, I will think about it and give you an answer. Then Yam-sang thinks, who should I side with? So Kim Soon says, it's better for you to kill me yourself than to give me to the real Hae-seong, because Hae-seong is a huge psychopath. He even killed his accomplice Do Min-suk with a stone when he refused to obey him. Hearing this, Yam-song is shocked. Meanwhile, Do-hyun says, I love you to Ji-won and handcuffs her hands, saying, I can't take you with me any further because your life could be in danger. Ji-won stops him and he says, don't worry, I will definitely come back. Then, before leaving, Do-hyun asks room service to call the police, upon which the police arrive and rescue Ji-won. Then Ji-won tells her senior, the maid was killed by the serial killer, so please conduct this investigation secretly so that no information reaches the serial killer outside. Ji-won's mom is sick, so she asks Hai-soo to take care of Yoon-ha and tells her, you can get Yoon-ha's things from the house. Then Hai-soo comes to her house to get Yoon-ha's things. She hears a noise from outside. When she goes outside, someone is sitting there who mistakes her for Ji-won. She then tells Yoon-ha, lock the door from the inside and don't open it until Ji-won comes. Yoon-ha does as she is told. Hai-soo comes close to the man and realizes he is the culprit. She tells him, you can kill me, but don't say anything to Yoon-ha. So he says, why do you think that Do-hyun is innocent? So Hae-soo says Do-hyun cannot kill a person because he doesn't have that capability. The real Hee-seong stabs Hae-soo and leaves with Ji-won's ID card. Meanwhile, Yam-sang tells Do-hyun, I will first take the money from the culprit, after that Do-hyun can do whatever he wants with him. Kim-jin sees Hae-soo lying injured outside Ji-won's house and starts to take her to the hospital. Then he also tells Ji-won about this. She quickly goes home and sees Yoon-ha crying, so she starts to console her. The real Hee-seong asks Yam-sang for the location. Then Yam-sang gives Kim-soon the key to the cage and says, until she opens the cage herself, no one else can open it, so she is safe. Then the next day, upon watching the CCTV, the police find out that the culprit came to kill Ji-won, so they spread fake news of Ji-won's death. Then the real Hee-seong comes to Yam-sang with the money. Yam-sang checks the money by smelling it. Hee-seong knew he would do this, so he had sprayed poison on the money. In the next scene, Detective Cheel reveals the maid's death did not happen at night, but in the afternoon. But in the CCTV, she had left Hee-seong's house at night, so Ji-won understands that the one who left was not the maid, but Hee-seong's mom. She says the culprit is the real Hee-seong, and he has regained consciousness. Meanwhile, Hee-seong tries to open Kim-soon's cage, but it doesn't open. Just then, Do-hyun attacks him from behind. Do-hyun then ties Hee-seong to a chair. Then he tells him, I have understood how you framed me in the maid's case. Then Hee-seong, to provoke Do-hyun, says, I have murdered Ji-won. Do-hyun gets scared hearing this and starts calling Ji-won, but she doesn't attend the call. So Do-hyun calls the police station and asks about Ji-won, and he finds out that Ji-won is dead. Hearing this, Do-hyun starts crying. Hee-seong says, you have won, so you should kill me. So Do-hyun angrily takes out a knife and says to Kim-soon, you should tell the police that Do-hyun has killed a person. Kim-soon says, you should not murder him. But he doesn't listen to her and starts coming closer to Hee-seong. Just then, Hee-seong kicks him down with his foot. Then Hee-seong runs away from there. Outside, Yam-sang's dead body is lying. Do-hyun goes after Hee-seong. On the other side, Ji-won goes to Mr. Beck's house and investigates. Mr. Beck says Hee-seong has gone to meet Yam-sang. Just then, Ji-won finds out from the police station that someone has called and asked about her and Yoon-ha, so Ji-won understands it must be Do-hyun-ji. One calls that number, and Kim-soon opens the cage floor and picks up the call, saying, Do-hyun has gone after Hee-seong, come and save him. Meanwhile, Hee-seong is hiding, and Do-hyun starts chasing him. The police go into the jungle and start searching. Then they find Kim-soon, who tells Ji-won, Hee-seong told Do-hyun that I murdered Ji-won. So if Do-hyun kills Hee-seong, it won't be his fault, because Hee-seong provoked him. Do-hyun chases Hee-seong to the mountaintop, then a fight starts between them.